Do you know that feeling in your stomach when you show somebody a picture on your phone and they start swiping? Well, imagine they didn't just see all of your private pictures, but they also sent the pictures to themselves. But if that wasn't bad enough, the person who did it was a leader in your church. Welcome back to Crazy Internet News. I'm your host, Tarat, and today we'll be talking about Gabriel Mills, a pastor who got caught in the act of stealing nudes from a couple who was attending a church group that he was leading. The story starts with an unidentified couple who attends Journey Church, which is a mega church in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Now, in these types of mega churches, you usually find that apart from Sunday Mass, they have a lot of breakaway groups that meet during the week. And usually these groups are divided by age and lifestyle, youth group, singles group, couples groups. Well, one of these groups was being led by Gabriel Mills. Now, the couple was attending a life group meeting being held at the pastor's house, the same home the pastor shared with his wife of over 20 years. Now, during this meeting, the husband asked the pastor if he could help him download an audiobook as he was having trouble finding it. It was during the time that the pastor had the husband's phone that he went through it and sent himself naked pictures of the wife. Now, the husband happens to be a police officer, which led him to quickly file a police report. Now, according to the criminal complaint, the husband gave the pastor his phone, and then the couple went downstairs to get their kids and get ready to go. Now, after about 10 minutes, the wife went back upstairs for unknown reasons, and that's when she found the pastor holding his phone up to his chest in a way where no one could see what was on his screen. Well, after a couple of minutes of the wife and the pastor talking, he must have forgotten what was on his phone because he lowered his phone down to his side. That's when the victim saw a picture on the phone, which was of a woman in a thong that was bent over at the waist, posing for the camera. Now, the woman recognized this picture as she had taken it herself, and she had only ever sent it to her husband. After this realization, she was horrified of what other pictures the pastor could have had on his phone. But with some quick thinking, she actually leaned over and tapped on the screen, which relit it. That's when the pastor looked down and realized what the woman was seeing. That's when, according to the woman, the pastor turned white as a ghost, started shaking, and apologized repeatedly. Disgusted, the woman started making her way downstairs where her husband and kids were waiting for her. That's when Pastor Mills started following the woman downstairs, stuttering the whole way down, begging her not to tell Sarah, his wife, what she had just seen on his phone. After the woman refused to listen to the pastor, he actually blocked her on the stairs and tried to convince her that it wasn't her who she saw in the picture, but it was actually a picture of his wife. However, his desperate excuses weren't enough to fool the woman, as she not only recognized herself on the picture, but she also recognized the background, apart from pointing out that the pastor's wife had a considerably lighter skin than her. After he pleaded some more, the woman made her way around the pastor, got her kids and husband, and proceeded to leave the house, where the pastor once again followed her, again repeating how sorry and embarrassed he was about the whole situation. Not wanting to hear any more from this man, the woman told him she would let things go, and she proceeded to leave with her family. I feel like we can read that up to this point. The woman has done an amazing job at staying cool, calm, and collected, because I promise you, if somebody had a picture of me bent over showing my goodies, I'd freak out. But let's continue with the story. At this point, the woman had no idea how the pastor had gotten a hold of her pictures. And not knowing if the husband was the one who sent him the pictures, she didn't outright tell him what had happened. Instead, she asked her husband, who was completely unaware of the whole situation up to this point, if he had ever given the pastor his phone. Her husband told her that, in fact, he had given the pastor his phone to download an audiobook, but he pointed out that the pastor had kept his phone for an awful long time. That's when the woman, certain her husband took no part in sharing of the pictures, told him everything that happened. Her husband was furious, and rightly so he reached out to the pastor and asked him if he had gone through his pictures. Obviously, the pastor denied it, and that's when the husband asked him to send the picture the wife had seen to make sure it wasn't her. And the pastor did. He did send a picture to the husband. But that's when the wife pointed out that that wasn't the picture she had seen, nor was it the pastor's wife. It was just a picture of a random woman in a similar pose to the picture the woman had seen. After the pastor refused to take accountability, that's when the woman called Sarah, the pastor's wife, who at this point was unaware of the picture and the whole confrontation that came out of it. So Sarah put the call on speakerphone with the pastor in the room, who once again denied the allegations and added on top that he was a man of God and he would never do such a thing. After not getting anywhere with the pastor, the husband, who like I said is a cop, asked to have the contents of his phone downloaded to see if there was a lock somewhere which showed any pictures that had been shared. And in the middle of downloading the contents of the phone, the pastor actually messaged the husband telling him, "I wish I could prove to you that I'm telling you the truth, I didn't go into your Photos app or any other app. I was only on the Audible app. The picture your wife saw was the most recent thing on my camera roll. It must have come up because I hit the camera roll when I had the camera open. Goodness, I believe God placed you guys in our path to be a blessing to care for you. He has even spoken to me clearly about that. I am stupid, but I did not send any pictures. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to be able to tell that this pastor is full of BS. We all know this type of man, and I use that term loosely. Because regardless of what you believe in, we all know that the people who hide behind the veil of religion to commit their crimes are the worst of the worst. And after the police went through the internal logs of the phone, they found that the pastor hadn't just used the Audible app like he had claimed, but that a text messaging app had been accessed multiple times and that the airdrop feature was used during the time frame the pastor had the phone. After learning this, the husband went through his phone and counted 1,150 pictures the pastor would have had to scroll through to get to the picture that he stole, meaning he could have possibly stolen a lot more. Because 1,150 pictures is a lot, and I'm sure there were a lot more spicy pictures somewhere in there. But even then, he could have gone even farther back. That's just how far he had to go back to get to the picture that the woman saw. Armed with the forensic phone analysis, the detective that was assigned to the case of the couple got a warrant for the pastor's phone. Unfortunately, they didn't find the picture that the woman had seen. However, they did find another 2 pictures. One, which had the undressed private parts of a woman, and another one which showed a red sweater being lifted, showing the woman's breasts. And although the pictures didn't show the face of the person in the photos, the woman recognized both of these pictures, as once again she had taken them herself and had actually sent her to her husband about 6 months prior. The detective was also able to find that the pastor's phone had used airdrop the exact same time the husband's phone had, and that both of the pictures sent did in fact come from the husband's phone. With all the evidence the police had gathered, they decided to charge the pastor with 2 counts of capturing an intimate picture without consent. Apart from his legal troubles, Mr. Mills also faced punishment in the church by the lead pastor, Mr. Kevin Taylor. He told Mills to stay home after he was made aware of the allegations made by the couple. And after speaking more in depth with them, he found that the allegations were credible enough and terminated Mr. Mills as he was breaching code of conduct. However, Mr. Kevin Taylor is no saint here. He was asked by the police to provide a statement regarding what Mr. Mills had admitted to him. But after speaking to the church's attorneys, Mr. Kevin refused to cooperate. Because according to the attorneys, what Mills and Kevin spoke about was not something he had to disclose, and Mr. Kevin was choosing not to. Just another man protecting his pocket over putting away the guy that targeted the members of his church. I wouldn't be surprised if the only reason Mr. Mills was terminated was because he had been charged and arrested a week prior. Bad apple? Feels like the whole basket is rotten. The criminal complaint also shows transcripts from a jailhouse call between Mr. Mills and his wife, where Mills told her that he was getting charged with the 2 pictures that the police had found, to which she responded, "What about the other ones?" To which Mr. Mills cut her off and told her he didn't know, hinting at future charges being added for possibly more stolen content. How long do you think this guy should be locked up? Obviously, he deserves some jail time and a lifetime ban from ever touching anyone else's phone again. But how much jail time would you actually give him? 1, 5, 10, 20 years? I feel like that's the only thing regarding this story that people couldn't agree on. But you know what people did agree on? That the lifetime ban this woman got from working at United was justified, as they would never want her as their flight attendant. I'll link it right here if you want to watch that video. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more crazy internet news multiple times a week.